Good afternoon. If you're watching this, I was not able to be with you all this afternoon, and I am very sad to be missing the book group. I am thankful to Jeannie for agreeing to show this video for me and lead some of the discussion. And I hope you have some great discussion. We're still in the section for Hinduism, and the Hindu wisdom is this section, and the chapter we are going to do is what does it mean to be a spiritual person? So let's start reading. Religion and spirituality are not the same thing. They are, however, commonly confused. She goes to church every week, we say. She's a very spiritual person. Or we know that he's a staunch member of the parish finance committee. He's a very spiritual person. It's an interesting conjunction of unlike ideas. It's the equivalent of saying, she's an excellent vocalist. She's been taking singing lessons for years. There's certainly a connection between taking voice lessons and becoming a professional singer, but it's not a necessary one. The truth is that we can go through the motions about something all our lives and never really become what the thing itself is meant to make us. Religion and spirituality are like that too. The one, religion, has to do with leading us to an awareness of God, with giving us the tools, the disciplines, to make ourselves ready for the experience of God. The other, spirituality, has to do with transforming the way we live as a result of that awareness, with infusing all of life with a sense of presence that transcends the immediate and gives it meaning. Sometimes we stop at one and fail to become the other. We use religious practices as a measure of our spirituality and seek spirituality without the discipline it takes to make it more than some kind of artless escapism. One is as lacking as the other, of course, but religious practice without the spiritual development that is meant to proceed from it is the more deceptive of the two. It leaves us in danger of being keepers of the law rather than seekers of the truth. I love that. Are we in danger of being keepers of the law rather than seekers of the truth? It's when we make religion itself our substitute for God that ironically our spirits stand to wither or calcify. Ancient Hindu spiritual masters understood the confusion only too well. They wrote, "Once upon a time, as the master lay dying, the disciples begged him, for their sakes, not to go. 'But if I do not go,' the master said, 'how will you ever see?' 'But what are we not seeing now that we will see when you are gone?' the disciple pressed him. And the spiritual master said, 'All I ever did was sit on the riverbank handing out river water. After I'm gone, I trust you will notice the river.'" The story draws a stark distinction between religion and spirituality. The disciples wanted something to follow. They wanted a law they could live by, a person who could give them orders, a master who would take responsibility for their guidance and their virtue. The master, on the other hand, wanted them to internalize his spirit, not simply to imitate his actions. The master's meaning is clear. Religion is not about following a minister or making a god out of a religious practice. Religion is not simply adherence to a code of law that is an end in itself. The Upanishads say, "Unsafe boats are these sacrificial forms. Ritual will not, of itself, take you to the other side." Religion is meant to be a bridge to God, a vehicle to understanding. It is meant to plumb the depths of the human soul to the source of the spirit. Instead, religion can sometimes even be an obstacle to union with God. As the Wag put it, "In order to sin properly, it is not necessary to break the rules. All you need to do is keep them to the letter." Religion without the spirit it is meant to preserve can become positively irreligious. We put the weak, the wounded, the addicts, the religious others outside the boundaries of our perfect lives, fearful of touching what might pollute us. Religion, who hasn't seen it happen, can be a very sinful thing. If religion itself is so necessarily sanctifying, why are there so many wars, so much killing, such unlimited oppression, and all of it in the name of God? Maybe it's because what religion itself loses at times is spirituality, the Spirit of God it preaches. Only when our own hearts are as wide as the God who made us have we become both religious and spiritual. The difference between religion and spirituality, then, is the difference between neurotic orthodoxy and mysticism. One is religion for its own sake. The other is the immersion of the self into God until we become what we say we are seeking. Real religion is not for the satisfaction of the self, it is for the sake of the world. For in the Hindu sense, the creation of the kind of personal karma that brings the world to the fullness of life. The orthodox are those who keep the rules and guard the creeds of all the denominations of the world. They know a heretic when they see one. The mystics of every religion are those who are looking for more than the security that rule keepers get from being able to go through life keeping count of their virtues. Mystics absorb the spirit to which the rules are meant to lead us. They go beyond theology to immerse themselves in the reality that the rules are designed to prepare us to see, and the theology is meant to describe. They go beyond ritual to the reality to which it points. They melt into God. They embrace the whole world. They become the love that created the world and compassion that sustains it. Spirituality is what takes us beyond religious practices to the purpose of religion, the awareness of the sacred in the mundane. Mystics go beyond the norms of every religion to the God every religion is established to revere. The denominational boundaries disappear, differences dissolve, theological distinctions become meaningless, and we find ourselves welded to the presence of God here and now, in everything, everywhere, at all times. For every great religion recognizes the difference between the two. They are all quick to tell one from the other. The Upanishads, those Hindu scriptures concerned with mystical truth, make the distinction between law and spirit plain. They tell a story about a hermit who worried that in his study of religion, his son had missed the spirit it is meant to maintain. Once upon a time, in a hermitage deep in the forest, lived the learned sage, Udakala Aruni, with his son, Shivtaktu. When Shivtaktu came of age, his father sent him to ashram for his education, as was customary in those days. And when Shivtaktu returned home after 12 years of education, Udaki asked him, "What did you learn while in the ashram, my son?" "I learned everything that could be known, Father," he answered. And when the father heard this, he became silent, and he thought, "What pride! Such conceit is born out of ignorance. My child, you must get to know the essence of all things, the one that exists in everything in this universe, the great power of Brahman." "But Father, if we cannot see the essence, how do we know that it exists?" said the son with a puzzled mind. "I shall explain this to you, my son. First, put some water in that pitcher. Now bring some salt and put the salt in the water," instructed the father. And the son did as his father asked. "Keep the pitcher aside for now and bring it to me tomorrow morning." Early the next morning, the son went to his father with the pitcher of water. "Can you see the salt?" asked his father. He searched, and of course the salt was no longer visible. And he said, "No, father, it must have dissolved in the water." "Now taste it from the top," his father instructed him. So the son dipped his finger into the water and tasted the water from the top. "It's salty," he said. "Now taste the water from the bottom." "It's salty there too, father," he answered. Similarly, he told his son, as you cannot see the salt, you cannot see the essence, but it's always present everywhere. And finally, the father concluded, "My son, that which you cannot grasp, but taste in every drop is the real. This omnipresent essence is called the Atman, which pervades everything. You too are that, my son." The lesson the story intends to teach is a simple but a profound one. There's something in the universe, the essence of life. The story tells us that living in us sustains us. It is the subject of religion. But without that living in us, but without the spirit of it within us, the religion itself is at best wooden, perhaps even useless. You too are that, the father says, and it is suddenly clear in each of us is the spirit that is the essence of life. It is more than religious idea, more than rules, more than ritual, though each of those things is surely intended to bring us close to it. At the base, however, is only the internalization of the life of the spirit that is the measure of its effectiveness. Religion is not for its own sake. It's not for the sake of the organization or the hierarchy, social order, or social status. The purpose of religion is to lead us beyond even itself to union with God, to that all-pervading awareness of the spirit of life and truth alive in us now and towards which our lives are directed. The spiritual person is the person who sees into and under and above and beyond the fixtures and the ideas of religion, to the sacredness of all life. The spiritual person is more than a denominational devotee. The spiritual person is one with the universe in all its forms and all its insights. To these people, God is every breath they breathe, every thought they think, every underlying motive of everything they do. They do not seek perfection. They seek the God who is perfect. Perfect life, perfect fullness, perfect peace. Spirituality is what takes us beyond religious practice to the purpose of religion. The awareness of the sacred in the mundane. The consciousness of God everywhere, in every one. It is not the rejection of matter as the opposite of spirit. That kind of spirituality can lead us to devalue the beautiful, the sensual, the physical, and the real. It can even lead us to devalue ourselves. It's said that what God has given to us takes us to the divine itself. Let me reread that sentence. It says that what God has given us to take us to the divine is itself bad. Instead, the spiritual person, as the father had said to the son, and that's on our story, is aware of the essence that pervades everything, including ourselves. We wonder how it is that religion can do so much violence, feed on so much extremism, lead to such self-destruction. The answer is, of course, that kind of religion is not about coming to the Spirit of God. When religion requires that our humanity, with all its joys and all its sense of goodness, be stamped out, there is something wrong with that religion. We are not human beings trying to be spiritual, Jacqueline Small says. We are spiritual beings trying to be human. The spiritual person knows that there is no difference between the sacred and the secular, the material and the spiritual. They are all simply part of the essence, simply stepping stones along the way to the God who is everything there is or needs to be. Religion itself is not sacred. And if or when it pretends to be, it can stop a soul in mid-flight from ever being able to find God in the midst of life. Then we make the means the end. We take the spiritual process designed to help us to find God in life and turn it into God. And that is a weak and pathetic substitute for the very meaning of life, the essence of all things, the magnet to which our souls cling. If the question is, what is a spiritual person? The answer is that the spiritual person is the one who breathes in and out the Spirit of God toward which they move. And I think that's it. I know I hear people that say, I'm not religious, but I'm a spiritual person, but I'm just not a religious person. And usually what they mean is they're tired of the church that's hung up on rules and basically not acting like God should act. Not acting the way God wants us to do. And so that's why they're saying they're spiritual. They're in tune with God, but they're not going to let some of the garbage of religion, in the name of religion, get in the way. The sad thing is usually that's also their answer for why they don't go to church. And sadly, many churches can drive people away. But I think part of being a spiritual person means also having that support, that community of a church. When it is working right, when it really is in tune to what God has for that church, and the church is reaching out into the community and doing good things, and just the way that we can support each other in a church. I think that's where you find the religion that leads to the spirituality, and the spirituality that leads to the religion. So I hope you have a great discussion with this book. And I'll be gone for 3 weeks, so it will be after that, but it'll be on the May calendar when we meet again. And the next time will be the last section in the Hindu wisdom. After that, we will move on to the next, which will be the Buddhist enlightenment. And then we go on to the Jewish community. So have a great discussion, guys. And I'll be there Sunday.